Hey everyone, it's Jacob again. This is not a grammar lesson. It's just kind of one of these things that I happen to be interested in. So if anyone else is, that's great. But I wanted to talk today about the origins of the actual word Samoa in the Samoan language. So really, the topics I was thinking of covering today is, well, what does Samoa mean? Like if you broke it down to its component parts, and then where does it come from? And again, these are just broad theories that I think are interesting. Definitely my opinion. If you have a different view or opinion, that's great. Share in the comments. I'd be interested to hear it. So I've been talking about in other videos, and again, I've posted a series of different grammar videos if you're interested in learning to speak Samoan, so I'll put a link up here. But as I mentioned before, Samoan is a modular language, so you can break down longer words into their subcomponents, and usually there's a meaning of each subcomponent, and you can derive the meaning of the larger word by looking at its smaller components. And so when you look at the word Samoa, you can really break that down into two different words. You can into sa and into moa. And sa has a couple of different meanings in Samoan. It can mean holy, sacred, or forbidden. And I know that's three English words, but it's all kind of the same concept in Samoan. And then sa is also a prefix that you can put in front of different sort of last names or just names in general. And it really denotes sort of a clan or a group of people by that. So for example, an honorific, well, I think it's an honorific word for the islands of Savaii is Salafai. And that's basically calling it the Lafai clan. And there's some history there that I'm not an expert on, but I'd understood that Lafai was a powerful family on the island of Savaii at some point. And so it got the name Salafai. But you could kind of put that in front of any last name and it would denote your family's clan or that family's clan. Moa is an interesting word because it can mean chicken. It's super common. If any of you speak even a little bit of Samoan, you've probably heard the word moa before, and it's always been like falai moa or supo moa, some kind of like chicken soup, fried chicken leg, something like that. But there is another meaning that's more, I think, akin to the concept of center or core. And so basically, if we broke this thing down, there's a couple of different options that we have just by looking at sort of the Samoan grammar pieces. And so, as far as where my brain goes, I kind of want to figure out, well, which is it? Does it mean holy chicken? Does it mean the chickens? Or does it mean something else? And so I think it's kind of interesting. I took a couple of semesters of Tongan when I was in college, and a couple of interesting things popped out of there. So and for those of you that don't know, Tonga is an island nation that's very close to Samoa, that's just south of Samoa, and the language is very, very similar. The vocab can be different, sometimes very much the same, or at least very similar if you switch a few different letters. And the grammar is very, very similar. So when you look at Tongan, the Tongan word for Samoa is actually Ha'amoa, which is interesting because there's definitely S's in the Tongan language, so they could have easily just called it Samoa. So to me, that means, that, at least it indicates to me that Ha probably has a similar meaning in Tongan as Sa does in Samoan. And when you look in the Tongan language, ha is the same kind of prefix type of word that you put in front of a name to denote a clan. So right there, we kind of triangulated, at least in my mind, that the sa in Samoa is the type of sa to indicate a clan and not the word to indicate holy. So for example, in Tongan, at least one of the words to mean holy or sacred would be tapu. So it's not like it was called tapu moa, it's called ha'amoa. And then I also thought it was interesting when I was taking those classes, the directions, like the coordinate directions, like on a map in Tongan, are kind of interesting. So the Tongan words for east and west are very similar in Tongan as they are in Samoan. They just swap S's for H's. So in Samoan, Sisifo means west, Sasai means east. In Tongan, Kihifo means west, and Hahake means east. But the words for north and south are really different. So in Tongan, the word for south is actually Tonga. In fact, the main island in Tonga is called Tongatapu, and it is the island furthest south in the whole archipelago. And the word for north, interestingly, is Tokelau. And Tokelau is actually the name of an island nation that's just north of Samoa. So when I was looking at a map, again, I just wanted to illustrate really what the archipelago of Tonga really looks like. You can see that Tongatapu is at the very, very south end of the entire archipelago. And above that, you've got the Hapai group, you have the Vava'u group, and above that, there's actually a couple of islands in the Niua group. And all of those islands are south of Samoa. Again, kind of even in the Tongan language, they acknowledge that Tongatapu is the very furthest end, or the most southerly end of that archipelago. And then when you look at all those islands together, you see Tonga again in the very south, you see Tokelau in the very far north, and then you've got Samoa right there in the middle or in the center. So to me, it seems logical to think that, you know, when these islands were sort of being populated and these languages and names were all sort of initially formed, it must have been acknowledged that Samoa was at the center. It seems like Samoa must mean sort of the center's clan. And so I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know if that means that Samoa was populated first and then later went to the south or to the north or whatever. But it does kind of seem interesting that at least they kind of looked at that as being sort of relative coordinates of the neighborhood. Anyway, so these are my random thoughts. Hopefully it's kind of interesting. I thought it was. Anyway, if you have any questions or comments, definitely let me know in the bottom. If you like this video or other videos like it, let me know. I'll post more stuff like this. Anyway, thanks for listening. Bye.